Like Wayani said the other time, like the dreams, it's like a dream come true. And she said, we're living a dream right now. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Very well. So tell us who you are, where you're from.
My name is Iam Tongi, and I'm from Kahuku, Hawaii.
Got this feeling down deep in my soul that I just can't.
When Iam Tongi stood on the American Idol stage in May 2023 and was crowned the winner at just 18 years old, millions of viewers around the world felt like they were witnessing something deeply personal and powerful. It wasn't just another singing competition when it felt like a moment of healing, a tribute, a culmination of love, loss, and legacy. Iam's story is not the typical rise-to-fame tale with nothing but red carpets and record deals. His victory came only months after the loss of his greatest inspiration, his father Rodney. That grief didn't stay hidden. It was there in his voice, in his expression, in the way he clutched his guitar, like it was an extension of his soul. During his audition, he sang James Blunt's emotional ballad Monsters, a song that speaks of letting go of a dying father. As he sang, his voice cracked, his tears fell freely, and something extraordinary happened. The room fell into a reverent silence. The judges Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Breen didn't just see a contestant. They saw a son grieving in front of millions. And they stood and applauded not only his voice, but his vulnerability. That moment resonated around the world, pulling in over 16 million views on YouTube in just a few months. People weren't just watching a performance, they were sharing in a moment of raw human pain. It was as if the walls of the studio melted away, and what remained was a boy, singing to his father one last time. What many people didn't know is that Iam almost didn't return to audition for that season of American Idol. The year before, he had tried out and didn't make it past the initial screening. That rejection hurt him more than he admitted at the time, and he told himself he wouldn't go through it again. But behind the scenes, his mother, who had always believed in his talents, secretly signed him up for the next season's audition. At first, he was too embarrassed to go. He didn't want to walk into that room again and feel the sting of rejection. He was still reeling from his father's passing and felt emotionally raw and exposed. But something within him, perhaps the voice of his father still echoing in his heart, pushed him to show up. And when he did, everything changed. Though he hadn't planned on speaking about his father during his audition, when the judges asked about him, the emotion simply poured out. He wasn't trying to get sympathy, he just couldn't stop the truth from surfacing. That was perhaps what made it so powerful. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with honesty. That day, Iam Tongi didn't just impress the judges. He reminded everyone watching what music is really about. It's not just technical skill or vocal range. It's about telling the truth, even when your heart is breaking, as the competition went on. Iam faced moments that could have broken his confidence. During Hollywood Week, his beloved guitar and instrument his late father gave him broke. It may have seemed like a minor incident to outsiders, but to Iam, it was devastating. That guitar was more than wood and strings. It was a symbol of his father's support and dreams for him. It was the same guitar he had used to serenade his family, the same one that carried him through his first songs. Losing it felt like losing another piece of his dad. And to make matters worse, that same week, he also lost his voice. Standing on that stage, overwhelmed, without his guitar and unsure of his voice, Iam broke down in tears. He told the judges about the promise he made to his dad to always perform with that guitar. But then, in a moment of clarity, he realized something else. Maybe this was his dad's way of telling him, "You don't need a crutch, you can do this on your own." And so he did. From that point forward, Iam began performing with more confidence, more trust in himself. The grief didn't vanish, but it transformed into strength, into resilience, into a quiet, enduring fire. And the audiences felt it every time he sang. When he returned to the finale stage, it was as if everything had come full circle. That night, Iam Tongi stood beside James Blunt himself and performed Monsters again, this time. Not just in memory of his father, but in celebration of his journey. The duet was emotionally overwhelming. Both artists, having lost their fathers, sang with the kind of pain that doesn't come from imagination. It comes from experience. Iam broke down midway, the memories overtaking him. But he pushed through. He clutched the mic with trembling hands, drew a breath, and continued. The entire room was in tears. Even the judges were visibly shaken. That performance was not just music, it was grief turned into art. In an interview later, James Blunt described that moment with deep empathy. He said you could feel the desperation, the love, and the ache all at once. Leave a light on. The lyrics echoed and millions watching could feel the light that Iam Tongi had left behind in his son. It was no longer just a competition. It had become a story of love, remembrance, and emotional courage. Iam had already won the hearts of viewers long before he was declared the winner. Yet even in triumph, controversy followed. Some fans criticized the show, claiming Iam only won because of his sob story, not because of talent. They questioned whether sympathy had skewed the results, arguing that American Idol was turning into an emotional drama rather than a talent-based competition. These comments stung not just for Iam, but for many who had been inspired by his journey. But others rose to defend him, including runner-up Megan Danielle, who called him humble, talented, and deserving. She dismissed the claims of unfairness and praised his artistry. And in truth, Iam never asked for sympathy. He never tried to exploit his loss. His performances stood on their own. He didn't cry for attention, he cried because he was still healing. Iam responded with grace, saying he would have been happy for whoever won. His only goal was to honor his father and represent his roots, and he did both. His win wasn't just a personal achievement, it was a win for authenticity in an industry, often obsessed with polish and perfection. It was a reminder that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a kind of strength that many artists spend a lifetime trying to find. And that brings us to perhaps the most powerful part of Iam Tongi's journey, his identity and heritage. Iam is not just a singer, he is a proud representative of the Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community. Every song he chose, every performance he gave, was carefully considered. It wasn't chasing popularity, it was putting his people, his island, and their sound on the map. By performing songs like those by Kalohi Kai, he brought the warmth, rhythm, and emotion of island music to the national stage. Roman de Peralta, lead vocalist of Kalohi Kai, publicly praised Iam, saying his song choices gave a demographic often overlooked in mainstream media a chance to be heard and seen. Kimmy Minor, another respected Hawaiian artist, added that Iam opened doors for artists who rarely get this kind of visibility. For Pacific Islanders and AAPI musicians, this wasn't just a win for Iam, it was validation that their voices matter, that their music has a place in the mainstream. Iam's presence on that stage shattered long-held assumptions about who fits into the industry mold and reminded the world that diversity is not a trend, it's the heartbeat of true artistry. His cultural impact also brought past experiences into the spotlight, like Reno Inoue, Samoan contestant from American Idol Season 14. Reno had faced subtle yet painful moments of exclusion during his time on the show. He recalled hearing behind-the-scenes comments questioning where Pacific Islanders fit into the broader American music narrative. Story didn't end in a win, and for years, those questions lingered unanswered. But Iam's win became the powerful response Reno and so many others had been waiting for. As Reno put it, "We weren't meant to fit in, we were born to stand out." And Iam did exactly that. Through his humility, his faith, and his music, he stood tall, not just his father's legacy, but the pride of an entire culture. He reminded viewers that beyond the glitz of Hollywood, there are stories deeply rooted in family, in community, and in purpose. Even after American Idol, Iam Tongi remained grounded. He credits his success not just to talent, but to the unwavering support of his family and mentors. He speaks often of his father, of course, but also of his mother and siblings who cheered him on through every setback. He even mentioned the influence of Hawaii singer Jack Johnson, who helped guide him through the complexities of the music world. Iam's faith has also played a big role in shaping his journey. As a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he often leans into spirituality to navigate fame and pressure. Despite the sudden spotlight, he remains true to who he's always been, a boy from Kahuku, Hawaii, who learned to play the ukulele in the 5th grade and just wanted to make music that mattered. In interviews, he constantly returns to the same lesson: be yourself. Don't let the world reshape you. And perhaps that's what makes Iam Tongi so captivating. He doesn't pretend. He doesn't perform for approval. He sings because he has something real to say. And now, as of May 2025, 2 years after that unforgettable win, Iam Tongi continues to inspire. In a candid interview with People magazine, he opened up about his health journey, revealing that he had lost 115 pounds through dedicated work with a personal trainer. He described his routine with a sense of pride and joy: morning workouts, sauna sessions, and long walks. He said, "It feels amazing. I feel great." But more than just a physical transformation. This next chapter of Iam's story speaks to his continued growth and determination. He is still that young man who stood on stage with tears in his eyes, remembering his father. But now he's stronger, wiser, and even more committed to sharing his gifts with the world. Iam Tongi's story isn't one of tragedy, it's one of triumph born from pain. It's a reminder that the most powerful voices often come from the deepest wounds, and when someone dares to sing through their sorrow, the world listens and remembers. Iam Tongi's story didn't end the night he was crowned the winner of American Idol. If anything, that moment marked the beginning of a far more complex and meaningful journey. What endeared him to millions wasn't just his voice, was his vulnerability, his raw authenticity, and his refusal to hide his pain or reshape himself into a marketable version of someone else. He didn't just sing, he felt. Through that feeling, others found themselves. But fame is a strange thing. It lifts you up, but it also exposes you. And as the confetti settled and the lights dimmed, the real question became, what happens next? How does someone who has carried the weight of personal loss and cultural pride step into the machine of mainstream entertainment without losing himself in the process? For Iam, life after American Idol became a mixture of stunning achievements, emotional reckonings, and cultural triumphs. The world watched to see if he would stumble, burn out, or become another footnote in pop culture history. He kept his heart open, his values intact, and his purpose crystal clear. Immediately after winning the competition, Iam stepped into the whirlwind that follows overnight fame interviews, studio sessions, and a national tour. On that tour, he reconnected with Oliver Steele, a fellow contestant who had become like a brother to him. Their friendship had been born in the crucible of competition but flourished beyond it. Together, they visited Oahu, where a local guitar maker gifted them custom-made matching ukuleles, a gesture symbolizing more than just music. It was a reminder that even as Iam rose to prominence, his roots would always hold him steady. The public moments kept coming. On July 1st, 2023, he performed at the Turtle Bay Resort, and to the audience's surprise, invited Roman de Peralta of Kalohi Kai on stage to sing Cool Down, a track that resonated deeply with Hawaiian audiences. That performance wasn't just a duet, it was a cultural moment, a coming home. A reunion between an artist and the very community that gave him his voice. Roman later shared how casually it all came together. Iam had texted him the night before, asking if he'd like to join. He was stoked, Roman said. That's the thing about Iam. His energy is humble, kind, magnetic. People don't just work with him, they feel lucky to. And yet even with the joy of performing to larger audiences than ever before, there were stumbles that reminded the world he was still human. At the 2023 Home Run Derby, Iam was invited to sing the national anthem. It was his biggest crowd yet. Nerves overtook him, and in a small but telling moment, he forgot to remove his baseball cap during the performance. The backlash was swift, but so was his apology. He posted a heartfelt message online, admitting the mistake and thanking fans for understanding. That moment, rather than diminishing his image, made him more relatable. Who hasn't fumbled when the pressure's highest? It's those human imperfections that make Iam so easy to root for. And time again, he's shown that his fame isn't just about personal achievement, it's about lifting others up, especially his community. When wildfires devastated Maui in August 2023, EHM used his platform to raise awareness. Posted a video not just with words, but with a soulful rendition of Starting All Over Again by Israel Kamakawi Wuo. It wasn't for clicks, it was for comfort, a way of saying, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you. As the year progressed, Iam continued to build his musical catalog. On August 25th, he released the studio version of his duet with James Blunt, Monsters. This was more than a song, it was an anthem of loss and love, the track that had launched him into the hearts of millions. In his caption, Iam wrote, "From covering it on TikTok 3 years ago to singing it at my audition, to performing it with James Blunt at the finale, Monsters means so much to me." It was a full circle moment, and fans responded with gratitude. In September, he released Waikiki, an original single, followed by his Christmas EP, Iam Tongi Christmas, featuring his take on classics like White Christmas and Mele Kamaka. Then came one of the most poignant full circle moments of all in 2025. Iam was asked to contribute to the live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch, a film so rooted in Hawaiian culture, it seemed destined for him. He recorded Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, a joyful tribute to his island heritage. But this time, he didn't return to the American Idol stage as a contestant. He came back as a performer, someone who had arrived. And when he sang that song on the show, you could feel the pride radiating from the audience. He wasn't just representing himself, he was standing in for every island kid. Whoever felt invisible, his momentum didn't slow. With 10 concerts lined up across the U.S., Iam's tour showcased his growing confidence and artistic identity. He also released a song titled Road to Hana, calling it a love letter to the islands where he grew up. Through it all, he never stopped being that down-to-earth boy from Kahuku. He still lives in Washington, still finds time for love. As of December 2024, he celebrated 1 year with his girlfriend, Leia. In his Instagram post, he joked that she had forced him to ask her out, a cheeky, endearing caption that his fans adored. "Just know, I love you, babe. Forever." He wrote in March, he posted again saying, "I miss you so much, beautiful. I'll be home soon." It's clear that amidst all the noise and glamour, Iam's heart remains tethered to the people who ground him. The world may see him as a star, but he still sees himself as someone's boyfriend, someone's brother, someone's son. But to truly appreciate Iam Tongi's significance, one must understand the broader context of AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander representation in media. For decades, Hollywood has overlooked, misrepresented, or erased AAPI communities. The stories told have often been filtered through stereotypes or entirely omitted. According to USC's Annenberg Inclusion Initiative from 2007 to 2019, less than 6% of speaking roles in popular films were given to AAPI characters. And when representation does occur, it's rarely nuanced. There's often no room for Pacific Islanders as individuals. They're lumped together into generic portrayals that flatten centuries of diverse culture and language into a single, digestible image. Even when they appear, their background, characters, comic relief, or exoticized sidekicks. And the numbers are even worse for queer AAPI individuals and AAPI women over 40. Hollywood has made small improvements projects like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mona cracked open the door, but true equity remains a long road ahead. In that context, Iam Tongi's mainstream visibility isn't just special, it's revolutionary. He's not playing a character. He's not following a script. He's just being himself, and people are listening. Take Disney's Moana, for instance. When it first came out in 2016, many Pacific Islander families were thrilled to see themselves reflected on screen. Noah wasn't a princess in a ganchi, was barefoot, bold, and built like the girls you'd see on real island shores. Maui, her demigod companion, used his eyebrows and expressions in ways that felt deeply familiar to Polynesian audiences. But even that representation came with controversy. Critics accused Disney of cultural cherry-picking. A bit from Tonga, a dash from Samoa, and mixing it all into a generic Polynesian fantasy. Worse, the Maui Halloween costume was pulled from stores after people said it resembled blackface, demonstrating just how easily even well-intentioned efforts can go wrong without authentic consultation. For Moana 2, Disney has brought in Pacific Islander academics to guide the storytelling, focusing more specifically on Samoan and Tongan architecture and myths. It's progress, but it also shows how far we still have to go. And that's why Iam Tongi matters. His presence in the industry proves that authentic stories told by those who live them resonate more deeply than any costume or stereotype ever could. As Hollywood slowly wakes up to the importance of diversity, it's important to remember that it's not just about numbers, it's about ownership. Who gets to tell the story? Who gets to be seen as the hero? Iam Tongi's rise is a reminder that representation isn't charity's necessity. Because when Pacific Islander kids see someone like Iam on national TV, playing his ukulele, crying over his father, and standing tall as a winner, they don't just see a celebrity, they see possibility. That's what storytelling is for. It's not to sell tickets, but to pass down hope. And perhaps the greatest tragedy would have been if Iam had never picked up that guitar again, but he did. And in doing so, he gave his father's dreams wings, made his people proud, and he gave voice to a community too often silenced. His is not just a success story. It's a legacy in motion.